The girl must have sensed my hesitation because she looked up at me and said, her mom always told her not to trust anyone in uniform unless you're absolutely sure they're real cops. She said it quietly, but firmly, like she was repeating something she'd been taught many times. That made sense considering what happened to her mom, and I realized my husband might have connections at the police department. He'd mentioned cop friends before, though I'd never met them, and now that seemed suspicious. I decided we needed more information before involving anyone official, so I put the car in reverse and started backing out. The girl sat up a little and mentioned that her mom's car was still somewhere in the mall parking lot, with important stuff hidden inside. She knew exactly which section because she'd been living in it for 3 days, and memorized all the landmarks nearby. I drove slowly through the garage and out into the bright sunlight of the surface lot. We circled around to the other side of the mall near the old Sears entrance that had been closed for years. The girl pointed to a faded gray Honda Civic with a cracked windshield parked under a broken light pole. She directed me to the park a few spaces away so we wouldn't be obvious and showed me exactly where her mom hid the spare key. It was magnetic and stuck up inside the rear wheel, well covered in road grime and rust. The girl knew right where to reach and pulled it out like she'd done it before. Inside the car smelled stale and there were empty granola bar wrappers and juice boxes scattered on the back seat. The girl went straight to the glove compartment and pulled out a manila folder that was wedged behind the owner's manual. Inside was her mom's old police badge from when she worked for the county sheriff's department 5 years ago. There were also some photocopy case files about missing persons and fraud investigations, plus a gas station receipt with a partial license plate number scratched on it in pen. The girl explained that her mom had been investigating something on her own time before this happened. She'd overheard phone calls about people pretending to be cops and taking people who owed money or had warrants. The receipt was from the day before they got grabbed and her mom must have seen something suspicious. I took pictures of everything with my phone, then put the folder back where we found it. We locked the car and put the key back in its hiding spot in case we needed it again. Back in my car, I finally accepted that we needed real police help despite the risks of my husband having connections. I dialed 911, and when the operator answered, I tried to keep my voice calm while explaining that I had a child whose mother had been kidnapped 3 days ago. The operator asked a bunch of questions about where we were and if we were safe right now. She told us to come straight to the main precinct downtown and said she'd notify the desk sergeant we were coming. The drive took 20 minutes and the girl stayed quiet the whole time just staring out the window. The police station was an old brick building with narrow windows and metal detectors at the entrance. Inside smelled like coffee and floor wax, and there were people sitting on benches looking tired and frustrated. I told the desk officer why we were there, and he made a call and directed us to a conference room down the hall. A woman in a suit came in and introduced herself as someone who worked with child victims. She took the girl to another room to talk privately while a detective came to get my statement. I explained everything about finding the girl at the mall and what she told me about the fake cop who took her mom. I described seeing a suspicious man but didn't mention yet that it was my husband, because I needed to think about how to handle that. The detective took notes and said they pulled the mall security footage to identify the suspect, while the girl worked with a specialist to provide more details. About 20 minutes later, a tall black man in a gray suit walked in carrying a thick folder and introduced himself as Detective Jamal Griffith. He had this calm way of moving that made me think he'd seen a lot of bad stuff but still cared about helping people. He sat down across from me and opened the folder which had forms and photos inside. He asked me to go through everything again from the beginning and took notes on a yellow legal pad while I talked. When I got to the part about seeing the man at the mall, his pen stopped moving and he looked up at me.